Good evening. This is Weekdays with Wendy, and I want to read to you today's passage from the Love Your Neighbor, No Exceptions calendar. It's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. Let no one pull you so low as to hate them. 53 years ago, yesterday, on February 1st, 1968, tragedy struck in Memphis, Tennessee, as two sanitation workers were crushed by the garbage truck they were operating. There was a storm, and they couldn't take shelter any place along their route because of segregation laws. And so the only place they could escape from the elements of the storm was in the back of their garbage truck. Now, they had an old, broken down truck, and it was continually malfunctioning. And on that day, it malfunctioned again, and there was some sort of electrical spark that kicked the trash compactor into gear. It started operating, and before the two young men could jump out, they were caught by the trash compactor and crushed to death in that filthy place. On February 12th, 1,200 sanitation workers in Memphis went on strike. They had complained for years about the unsafe working conditions and the low wages. At that time, a full-time sanitation worker would still qualify for food stamps and wouldn't be able to afford insurance. And the trucks they were forced to work on were always breaking down. There were lots of injuries. But these two young men's deaths were the final straw. They went on strike, and they protested against what they were forced to do for the sake of employment. A few weeks later, Martin Luther King Jr. joined them in Memphis for a peaceful march in the city. But violence broke out. People were attacked and beaten. And so he vowed to come back for another peaceful march. It would be April 4th that he would be back in Memphis to stand with the rights for sanitation workers there, and he was assassinated. He gave his life seeking justice and peace and freedom for all. He used nonviolence, but he faced violence over and over and over again. Incredible injustice, abuse. He heard and felt the worst of humanity. The names he and others were called, the ways they were mistreated, the ways they were denied basic civil rights. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life for a world that needed transformation. And he understood that he could not let hate bring him down, because hate enslaves, and he needed his soul to be free. Hate poisons from within, and he knew he had to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, who called us to love our enemies and to do good to them. He understood that hate wasn't practical and wouldn't be successful in retaliating against hate. How can hate get rid of hate? It just adds more and more hate and darkness. Just as darkness can't cast out darkness, just as violence doesn't fight against violence, it just adds more to the mix. No, the only thing that can cast out hate is love. Light is what combats darkness. And peace peace is what is called for in the face of violence. Martin Luther King found his ultimate example for nonviolence and loving your enemy in Jesus Christ. And Christ is our ultimate example as well. Never let hate find a foothold in your heart, because it's like drinking poison intended for someone else. Never let anyone pull you so low as to hate them. Have a great evening.